Hello. Apologies for the delay.
Yeah, it was all far too exciting watching the women's 1500.
Yeah, our two respective laptops clearly had a meltdown just at the thought of going sub 350.
Yeah, which is it's still mad to think actually, isn't it? That's like a 340 something is like a decent men's time.
Yeah, and yeah, even at the start of the race, they were saying it was going to be faster than that. Nah, I just didn't think it was going to be today.
Yeah, same because of the conditions and it was a bit wet, it was a bit cold, a bit windy. Other events were really struggling tonight, and I was like, oh, it's not going to happen tonight. But then it was like, oh, okay. Then as the race went on, I was like, oh no, it really might happen today. And then the last lap, it was like, yeah, it's going to happen. It's actually going to happen. And
Yeah,
I thought, even then, I thought it might be a high 349, but it was almost a 348 in the end. So amazing.
yeah, really was amazing. Let's just get the results up on screen if it'll play ball, and it's just yeah, 3:49 in the women's 1500 meters is kind of uh, it's hard to comprehend. And then, especially when you think that that is a very decent time for Laura Muir in second, and she was well adrift.
Yeah, I mean, I guess did try and go with Faith a little bit, but then still she hung on for a 357, which is fine. And then yeah, Jess Hull with a similar 357 behind, massive PB and national record for her. And then obviously shame that Kira couldn't get under 4 minutes for the second time, but never mind. It was ridiculous. It was just Faith against the clock. The rest of them were like, oh, we're not gonna go with this. But yeah, it was more the pacemakers in particular did a really good job of going for exactly in like to the literally to the hundredth, almost like of what she wanted. So yeah, very well paced, and yeah, Faith did the rest on her own.
Yeah, of course she did have the benefit of wave light, which I suppose Genzebi didn't have back in 2015.
Mm.
It was 2015, right? Was it 20?
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
But even then, I think it got to a certain point where she was going so fast that what use is the wave
Yeah,
light? She couldn't see it.
exactly. I don't think the wave lights had any impact on this result at all. I think Faith is such a good runner in terms of pacing herself, and yeah, she knows what her maximum potential is, and she knew exactly. That's why she said, like, give me like those splits in particular. Gintebi, I think, went off a bit quicker, so that was more Faith kind of winding it up. That's what she does, and that's what she knows. And she was always going to attack that last 400 like she did. And yeah, the wave lights were pretty much behind her with 300 meters to go, so didn't really make a difference.
Um, and yeah, it's kind of with that, it's almost hard to remember that. Oh yeah, there were um, other events of this meeting, even though it was actually quite a respectable Diamond League meeting.
Yeah, obviously there was lots of big lineups and stuff, and I guess the weather did kind of not make it too thrilling. But yeah, obviously the women's long jump in particular, I suppose, was pretty much a world and Olympic final, but it didn't quite live up to the hype just because of the conditions, really, which is a bit of a shame.
It is, but I imagine that the spectators in Florence were very happy to see Larissa Yapachino win there. I think that might be her first Diamond League win.
I think so. I can't remember either, but yeah, I guess even though the conditions weren't great in this field, the name she's beaten is it's ridiculous. So yeah, they'll be really pleased with that win. And as you mentioned, home crowd win, and yeah, and it's a home track, so she knows it well. She's probably jumped in that stadium in all conditions, so hence why she had a little bit of an advantage. But yeah, to be only 4 centimeters off a PB in that weather is all right.
Yeah, and she had a respectable 664 to back it up as well, which was, I mean, that would have
Mm,
been enough for second behind Tara Davis had uh,
yeah.
she not got that early round jump. So she definitely showed her experience on this track there.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so but behind that it was really close behind those two, obviously at the front. It's a few centimeters separating the next three. But yeah, I guess you look at the performances, you're like, oh, people are only jumping six like Valletta and Sawyer's separated by 1 centimeter. I mean, Jazz will be thrilled to have beaten her again, but
Yeah,
it's like with a 643, maybe not so much. But early days. By the time we get to Budapest, if this is the final, we'll all be like, yes.
yes. I'm picturing good weather in Budapest, but I get the impression that in the summer it might be that when it rains, it really pours there.
Yeah, true, but it'll probably dry just as quickly. I think it is usually quite hot there, so I'm predicting, yeah, predicting like lovely summer kind of weather, maybe a gentle breeze. Who knows? But I think it'll
Yeah.
be, yeah, it'll be roasting.
So hopefully, perfect long jumping conditions for that final.
Yeah.
What other events jump to mind? Do you want to talk about soon?
Probably men's 5,000 actually. I think the 5,000 is a lot of people are, oh great, this is where I go and get some food and whatever. But it's like because it's a long race, they obviously need to make it good now because it's a packed schedule. If you've got a 2 hour window to show athletics and you've got a race that can take up to 15 minutes with all the intros and replays, it needs to be a good field. And as you can see from the the results and the icons next to the names, this was a world class. This again was almost an Olympic, just missing in Inga Brixton, and then apart from that, everyone else was there. And yeah, incredible world lead from Katia, just beating beating Kajelcha by kind of running in lane three a little bit, kind of squeezed him out of it out of the way. But yeah, behind him it was just like yeah, national records, PBs, and all sorts. So yeah, really world class field. And when you've got the likes of I don't know Mo Ahmed and Tefera not even like in the top eight, and Borrega ninth as well. It's I know how many under 13? Like yeah,
Uh,
13 under
yep.
13.
It's
Yeah,
like
it was so good.
some sort of weird list in Time magazine or something.
Yes, exactly. It's the 13 under 13, and yeah, I was yeah really impressed with that field, and yeah, a good race all round.
Yeah, and with Grijalva from Guatemala, with that national record, he's probably looking really good for a Pan American title. Of course, the Pan American
Mm.
Games are well off. I think they're October, November.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I mean,
he looks to be he could do his small country proud there.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Already, I think this the world champs. You're looking at he could get a medal. He wasn't far off last time, and he's been knocking on the door of breaking 13. And as you can see, he's taken almost exactly 10 seconds off his national record. So yeah, really to beat the likes of Cheptegei as well in a sprint finish as well was really impressive. And yeah, he wasn't quite with the other two up front, but it was yeah, he was closing at the end. And if he can stay within touch in the last lap, always going to be a threat with that finish that he's got. So yeah, I was really pleased with him. And yeah, some other good performances. The Americans did well, especially because I think Grant Fisher went down as well and fell. So it's like he did well to get back up and run under 13. I think it was him that fell anyway. He might have been someone else, but
All the drama from this race.
yeah, what was most impressive was the fact that for the distance races at Diamond League, you often get pacing, and it's always a run against the clock. But this wasn't. You had a lap to go, and there was about 12 men that could have won it. They were all almost in a line coming up to the bell, so it was unusual for a Diamond League to have that. So yeah, this was definitely one of the best 5,000s we've ever had in a Diamond League, and yeah, it was great. It was really a night for the distance runners tonight, wasn't it? Really?
It really was. But I'm glad that you took us through that in such detail because I was. You mentioned people getting food during the distance races. I was cooking at the time.
Yeah,
I
well, yeah,
was.
to be
I
fair.
still had it on, but
I put a pizza in the oven at the start and then watched it, and then the pizza was done kind of by the end. So I timed it well.
I was cooking pasta. I had to be a bit more attentive. Uh, should we have a look at some of the field events?
Yeah, men's high jump. Go to that one. I want to talk about
Men's
that because
high jump.
that was it looked like it wasn't going to be that exciting, but in the end, it ended up being all right. Javon Harrison with his nearly three failures at 224, and
Uh,
then ended up getting a 232 out of the day, which is really impressive.
yeah, he's sort of a couple clutch jumps there got him. I'd say quite a. He'd be quite happy with that victory over Wee for sure. Perhaps I was going to say perhaps the rest of the field wasn't super vintage, but actually there are some names there who perhaps didn't live up to their billing.
Yeah, again, it could be the conditions again, but it's the fact that Harrison's now winning these Diamond
Yeah,
Leagues or always being top two, top three, and he's consistently pulling it out of the bag now. And again, we haven't seen a long jump for a while, so I don't know if he's focusing more on the. I've always said he should focus more on the high jump because it's more chance of winning a medal, and yeah, and the fact he's retiring as well, he's winning the competition, then retiring, not going, he doesn't need to go for the big heights yet. Wait for the champs to do that. So yeah, come Budapest, if we have a Barsham and a Tamberi in some sort of shape with the likes of Harrison and Wu and a few others, it could be quite a good final.
Yeah. Um, Anything could happen. Hopefully, we'll have a good view of that high jump.
Yes, we
You and
will.
me. Uh,
350.
but yeah, a very great competition. And as you said, it's with Javon. I was sort of worried that he was going to be one of those athletes who didn't really sort of translate from the and didn't transition from the NCAA's. So it is good to see that yes, he is having this success on the European circuit.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think he's after Tokyo. You're like, oh, is he gonna just gonna fade away a little bit? But well, him and Tara Davis, to be fair, both kind of done similar things at the same time, and then have been able to maintain it and carry on, which is good to see.
Absolutely. What takes your pick next? What takes your fancy?
Let's do some discus. Why not? Let's go to the top.
All the way to the start
Because I
before
kind of
the
missed
sun
this.
had set.
I didn't really see much of the first hour, so I was like, I've only seen the results. So
Yeah.
was it
So,
exciting?
well, it was a peculiar competition in that you'd look at yes, it's sort of Val Ullman versus Bin Feng as you'd expect, but Val Ullman had a really sort of shaky competition, sort of very sort of standard opening round of 57.60, and from there had a lot of X's on the board. If she was playing noughts and crosses, she would have done quite well.
Mhm.
But uh, but then still managed to do it with a bit of a clutch performance in the fifth round, narrowly taking it away from Binfang. So clearly the conditions were perhaps most suitable during the fifth round. But yeah, an interesting head to head between the two of them.
Yeah, and I think it's one that will kind of run through to the world champs. I think these two I guess, with Perkovic, they're the three that we're expecting to be on the podium. And yeah, like you say, it was that fifth round where it all kind of kicked off, and yeah, she only just got the win by 5 centimeters, but a win's a win.
Yeah. And there is something that I always enjoy about seeing Val Ullman's technique in the circle, and just you can really see that dancer
Mm.
experience, almost like she's just doing a brilliant pirouette with a discus in hand.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then somehow still throwing it 65.96.
Absolutely. Then let's stay in the early days of the meeting with the men's triple jump, and it was Diaz Hernandez who actually lives in Italy and will be seeing competing for Italy in the coming years, and walking away with a new personal best.
Yeah, again, such a good performance from, yeah, I said the Cubans. Obviously, he's still there with the Cuban flag, but as you mentioned, he's going to be going to Italy soon. So yeah, good that he's you. I mean, only the one valid attempt, but it doesn't matter when it's a PB. You've already got the competition won in the first round. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
particularly when it is early on and you can be so confident of, uh, well, if not the victory, then at least a top three finish.
and there's a lot of these new names that are kind of like making the triple jump a little bit more interesting again. We're seeing more of the 1770s, that range again now. So yeah, again, come the world champs, whoever's there, it could be exciting. But Zanga did a good performance in the last round. Almost got took it away from him, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely sort of breathing down his neck, and he had a very good, consistent series there. Five valid jumps all over 17 meters.
Yeah, and yeah, it's kind of those two really. I mean, Martinez is over 17 as well, but he's still a little bit down on what he's done indoors and last year. So yeah, we keep an eye on this event. It's kind of bubbling away quite nicely for the world champs.
Yeah. And it's a strange mark of the times where we are in a men's triple jump competition and we see Christian Taylor's name and we don't really pay much attention to him at all. But there he was there down in seventh place with
Yes,
um, stuck in the 16 meters.
he's still obviously trying to come back, but you wonder if, depending on how the rest of the season goes, if he'll maybe just call it at the end of the season, not bother trying to go for Paris. But I don't know. We'll give him another year, see how he goes.
Yeah, we'll allow it.
Yeah.
And should we stick with the field events and the men's shot put?
Yeah, may as well.
And Leonardo Fabri again giving something for the Italian fans, something to cheer about with victory there, 21.73. Again, narrow victory, only 4 centimeters over Tom Walsh. But I'd say that a bit of a scalp for him.
Oh yeah, I mean, looking at this field, I wouldn't have picked him as a winner, let alone a top three. So yeah, a big throw from him, not far off his personal best. And I guess yeah, home crowd, home support. You got to factor that in a little bit as well. Yeah, and Tom Walsh, but again, as you mentioned, was close. Could have got it. Stanek wasn't too far behind, and the fact that Joe Kovacs isn't even in the top three shows that there's a little bit of a random result. But yeah, happy for the Italians to get another win.
Yeah, of course, this is going to be. I think marks like this are going to be very irrelevant when we compare it to the likes of Ryan Krauser.
Yeah, exactly. This probably won't be anywhere, within a well, we won't be within a meter at the World Champs, I'm guessing, depending on what they throw there.
I mean, depending on what Krauser can do, I think there's a possibility that this could be 2 meters behind.
Yeah, true actually.
But I don't want to put too much pressure on the man. We're happy
Yeah,
with.
exactly. He's not always performed well at the big champs, is he? So yeah.
And while we're at the field events, Q over the moon pun for Katie Moon with 471, same height as Tina Sote, but on countback victory for Moon. Was an interesting competition, not a one that will go down in the history books, but still an interesting little battle for the top places there.
Yeah, it was the weather that really hindered the pole vaulters more than anyone, really. And yeah, everyone was, you can see people were struggling all the way through. So yeah, Katie Moon got the win and did try and get 482, but it didn't happen. Tina obviously tried to win it at 477, but she was great to get over that 471. That was a real clutch attempt there. And yeah, the rest were kind of just, yeah, all right, I suppose.
Yeah, um, yeah, as you said, not great for Wilma Murto or Stefanidi, but early days in conditions, so
Yeah,
anything can happen this year.
I guess Roberta Bruni, as you mentioned in the commentaries, because she's Italian, she only ever seems to jump well in Italy. She always does well at the Italian, like, especially the Rome Diamond League. So she was close to her season's best. So well, she got a season best. Sorry, she was close to her personal best anyway. So yeah, good times.
I do find it funny to be talking about this evening and sort of saying not great conditions with uh, the Golden Gala, because I normally sort of associate this meeting almost as the start of summer,
Mm.
and it's always as far as I can remember being gorgeous weather there, and of course it's Florence, it's a slightly different place, but it still feels weird that oh yeah we were actually talking about it being wet and chilly.
Yeah, I mean, next obviously Paris is this time next week, and looking, I've been watching the tennis, and it's not even look close to raining. So I'm thinking next Friday it's going to be a bit warmer. Would be really nice for the Paris Diamond League next week. This time next week.
Yeah, do a French Open Diamond League double.
I know. I don't think that's ever happened before. I'm trying to think, as I don't think it has. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like all the sports happening in Paris at the same time.
Hopefully, it doesn't have too much of an impact on attendances at the athletics, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean it will be men's semi-finals day, so it will be. Well, yeah, it probably will be going on quite late.
It's like the athletics World Cup all over again.
Yeah, I know. Not very well planned.
And so I suppose we'll go to the start of the track action in terms of the world broadcast. And this 400-meter hurdles, there was, well, Femke Bol getting a meeting record, but that almost wasn't the headline here.
Yeah, I guess don't want to say she was overshadowed, but she kind of was from our point of view. I mean, Femke still ran a crazy time, meeting record, like you say, 52:43. She's only 4 tenths of her personal best that she set in Tokyo. And then she made it to run a good race. Again, she's ran a season's best, but it was all about Anna Hall with it's only a marginal PB, but it was the fact she did it like 5 days after got it.
Yeah. I said on Twitter that I still feel like I'm recovering after Gotsis, and yet somehow She's running that in the 400-meter hurdles, so not even a heptathlon event, and setting another PB. So she's got PBs and everything at the moment.
Yeah, it's all about the PBs and the fact that she beat some decent four hurdlers. And it wasn't the cleanest race she ran. She was out in lane 8 and stood into the last hurdle. Didn't. It was more the fact. I think it's more her pace in her legs of the actual sprinting that got her the time. And yeah, with a bit more attention to hurdles, she could easily be world class. The same with Ashton Eaton, I guess. Easily be a world or Olympic medalist in the four hurdles if they focused on it.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange one that there seems to be a lot of overlap between multi-eventers and 400 hurdlers. I mean, you think Carsten, he was a decathlete until, or well, at least a multi-eventer until he couldn't really get his head around the pole vault.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I guess why it works so well is that you've got the endurance of like the 2 and the 8, so it's kind of and I guess for the men it's the 400s in the decathlon anyway, but it's the fact you've got the technical hurdling skills from the shorter sprint, so it kind of does make sense in a way that this is the natural event that they can be good at. We have obviously seen others switch to the hurdles or the four flat in particular and have success. So yeah, it kind of makes sense.
And I suppose if Arena Privalova could win the gold in this with such little
Exactly,
experience in it,
exactly.
granted, I don't think that's going to be happening at the moment, not with the quality of 400 hurdling in
No, definitely not.
2023.
Absolutely not.
And following on from that, we had the men's 200 meters, and I'm. It's sort of. It feels a bit unusual to be seeing Arian Knighton competing outside of the USA, but he's showing that he's got. It doesn't really phase him too much.
Well, he's grown up now. Doesn't need to be stuck in America. Yeah, I guess he
At the
was
grand old age of 19.
exactly. He's all done with all that. Well, actually, I assume he's done with all of his education. He seems to be running everywhere else. So, yeah, he was only one under 20 seconds, won quite comfortably. Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting to see how he navigates this season because the pressure's been on him for a couple of years now. But he's not. He has delivered, but he hasn't. Also, he's also like maybe not delivered up to his own expectations. So if he keeps getting wins like this, by the time we get to the world champs, it should be a real battle for the gold, I guess, between him and Noah Lyles.
Yeah, you can see that there's definitely a big rivalry between the two of them, particularly at it was US trials last year.
Mm.
Um, so I'll be interested to see how that plays out and if we'll get any drama trackside as well as on the track itself.
Yeah, no, that should be good. But yeah, it was all about him really. The rest of the field did okay.
Yeah, I mean actually they had a zero point 0.0 wind there, but it's everybody else perhaps not doing great with the cooler conditions or um, I would say I don't know super how high quality the track is in Florence.
It's obviously good for distance running. We've learned that. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not a sprinter's track probably.
yeah, entirely possible. Um, while we're discussing the sprints, you want to talk about the men's 100 meters?
Yeah, this was one of the big anticipated races of the night, but obviously Jacob had already withdrawn, so it was still interesting because it wasn't like it was a terrible field. And I guess we wanted to see how well Jacob's teammate did, and with his PB of 10:45 going into it, it's taken a third of a second off it pretty much with that 10:13. So yeah, the European indoor champion is going all right over the 100. Yeah, but it was again it's Fred Curley winning, but not exactly setting the world alight with the time. And 9:94 is all right. I mean, the
Yeah,
rest not being under 10 is a bit disappointing, but as we said, it's maybe not a sprinter's track and it wasn't the best conditions.
perhaps. Yeah, I mean with Cecchiarelli, we were expecting a big personal best given the vast improvement he showed over the indoor season. So yeah, it's not like a massive surprise to see a third of a second gone from his personal best, even though it is very remarkable.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Ferdinand Omanyala perhaps not capable of repeating his early season success from Nairobi.
Yeah, you do wonder if they'll be burnt out by the time we get to the world champs. Might be done by then.
entirely possible. But perhaps, I mean, perhaps from Fred Curley's perspective, a 994 at this stage of the season is fine, and it's just sort of gearing up
Yeah,
towards peaking in Budapest.
yeah, he knows he's going to win this race, so he's not going to push too hard, and he got the job done. I guess, yeah, even looking at the likes of Trayvon Brunel, he got a season's best there only by 100th, but again, he's someone who's probably thinking of peaking for later in the season and not too fussed about winning these races and running 9.8s and stuff.
Exactly. It's get the appearance money,
Yeah,
pay the bills. So we've not yet discussed the women's steeplechase, and I mean you mentioned the distances. This track being good for distances. This is where we very much saw it with well, all of these letters next to the names of the athletes.
yeah, again, a bit disappointing that Almeida didn't quite get under 9 minutes. And it looked like she's still kind of celebrated, but she could have maybe run and dipped a little bit quicker. I don't know, but it looked a bit like she could have maybe just dipped under it. But it's still, again, a world lead in PB for her. And then
Um,
behind, yeah, I guess it was more of the same as you mentioned. I think the PBs in fifth and sixth were the most impressive.
yeah, definitely seeing national records for both Fino and Mishmash, and um, I'm definitely taking over 3 seconds each of them from their previous personal bests, and overtaking Abebe in doing so as well. So I'm sure they'll be delighted with their performances tonight.
Yeah, and I think just looking a bit further down, although I mean, obviously Louisa Geiger was season's best, but not far off a PB. And I say European steeplechasing is going on quite a lot now. There's 9.10s and stuff that will be becoming the norm now for quite a lot of them. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that over the season, and even the likes of the Tunisian as well with the PB. That's like you know, Haribi's legacy is currently carrying on in that country in this event. So yeah, really good to see what's going on outside of the kind of like Ethiopian Kenyan battle that's usually at the front.
Yeah, and it's really interesting with Almayu because she's still very young, and she's got this very lovely sort of gliding running technique. It makes me think of Gizeh quite a lot,
Mm.
but I'd say that her hurdling technique is still leaves something to be desired. So there's definitely a lot of room for improvement,
Yeah, I think I
even
think
throughout this season.
that's when I was watching it because obviously she puts the foot on the barrier most times, which I was watching. I was like, actually, is that a good tactic in a way? It's kind of you're not getting that kind of like I don't know heavy footedness when you jump over and land and maybe lose a bit of balance. So I don't know. I was trying to think is she the way she runs? It almost made sense in a way watching it, but who knows? Maybe she'll do it properly and hurdle properly. But at the moment, it's working for her to put the feet her feet on it. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, clearly she's running 9 minutes, so you don't want to drastically change things. Um, but at the same time, I mean, perhaps she is a potential contender for taking that world record in the coming years.
yeah, exactly. It's yeah. Hopefully, I mean, it's a tough one, but yeah, it could go.
It's normally Monaco, so maybe
Yeah,
get the right evening at the in the right conditions.
yeah. That's when I thought Faith was going to get the record, but no, she's done it already.
She's ruined the rest of the season now. The women's 100 meters, perhaps a bit bereft with Dina Asher Smith not being there due to cramp. So it was left to Talu to win quite comfortably here.
Yeah, it's a shame that Dina was. I mean, she was there on the start line for a bit, and then she just stopped, and obviously didn't want to race with the cramp. So, yeah, big disappointment because would have been a good head to head. I mean, Taro just dipped under 11. She's having a really good season again. She's going to not been AWOL for the last couple of years, but she hasn't been in the upper tiers, and it seems like she's going to back there now, which is good. As is Looking Kemper again, she obviously had a good year last year, and she seems to be improving and more consistently running on the circuit. So Dina's always been quite a good champs performer, really. So if she can put it all together by the time we get to Budapest, we could have a couple of Europeans in the final, and another one being potentially Amani Lantico. She's had a great week running 11:06 and now 11:03 and now 11:16 in this field. And I think getting third in a field like this will help her get booked, I guess, for more Diamond Leagues across the season.
Definitely, and there's some pretty big American names that she beat there. Of course, most of them you'd perhaps associate with the 200 meters more than the
Mm.
100, but even so, beating the likes of Akinis and Steiner, Thomas and Prandini, that's definitely something that should give her confidence going on this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think Marnie's really stepped up this year. She's obviously seen what Daryl's done in the last couple of years, and obviously Dina's been there a long time. So yeah, it's three very good British sprinters. And yeah, the Americans, I don't know what's going on with Gabby Thomas. She looked a bit flat the last couple of times I've seen her race over the 100 and the 200. So yeah, interesting. US trials is going to be chaos as usual.
But I look forward to it nonetheless. Good,
Absolutely.
good sort of chaos. And the men's 110-meter hurdles. Here we did see some US success, but I suppose perhaps in some ways a bit of a typical performance from Holloway.
Yeah, I think he looked better than he did at the weekend. I think he's kind of obviously got his great start first 60 meters, but I felt like he really held on and kind of fought for this one a bit. And as you can see, he was 13:04, so it wasn't far off his season's best. And he was being pressured at the end by Jason Joseph with that huge national, say huge, two, 200s off his national record. I mean, it's huge for him to kind of have that after having the obviously European indoor gold, and he's been around for a while now, and he's finally having his breakthrough year. So for him to beat the likes of Devon Allen was impressive. So Devon's been a little bit off the board again. Don't know like if it's still overhang and hangover kind of from the football training, but again, we'll see at US trials when they're all trying to make that team.
Yeah, because last summer he really did peak for US trials and then the World Championships. Maybe it's just that he runs very well in Oregon, but there is. I still feel that we could see him peak for this summer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we'll see. We'll see by the time we get to July, I suppose. But we are in June now, so it's getting time's ticking on.
Yeah, where's the year gone? And we've not yet discussed the women's 400 meters, and perhaps a slight upset performed by Natalia Kazmarek here.
Yes and no. I think she probably was one of the more fancied athletes to win this. I mean, I don't think people thought Clara was going to win it, but Kaczmarek did have a good indoor season. I know she didn't go to the European indoors, but she does have one of the fastest PBs in this field, and has run not amazing so far this year, but she beat Clara in this kind of head to head, I suppose, and yeah, she had a good lane draw, and Clara ran a bit of a weird race for her. She kind of went out okay, and then she just kind of fell asleep between 200 and 300, it seemed, and then kind of held on all right in the home straight. But yeah, it was a weird race. It wasn't a vintage one, but Kazmarek was probably the most consistent of them all anyway. So she ran a pretty solid race and got the win.
Yeah, and then we back in seventh we had Candice McLeod, who um, clearly something's going on for her this season. Something's not clicking there because
Mm.
she's well behind even her modest season's best.
Yeah, she kind of walked over the line. I don't know if she just kind of gave up, but it didn't look like she was happy anyway. So yeah, not the best start of the season for her.
But we'll see how that pans out in the coming week. So we've got, I believe that's everything we have
Yeah,
discussed there. So we've got the Paris Diamond League coming up. Uh,
on Friday.
that's on Friday, next Friday. That's
Yeah, a week right now. It'll be going on. 'Cause I think it starts at 8 o'clock. They said so. That'll be just finishing this time next week.
so a lovely late Parisian evening.
Yeah, no, it should be good. So the weather should be nice, and I've not seen who's competing, but I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully we'll be able to stream around it then.
Yes, hopefully.
And yeah, so thanks for joining us, and we'll see you then.
Bye.